Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the Community Exchange podcast, where we talk to friends old and new in this case about their careers and the future of the media industry. I'm Matthew Scott Goldstein, better known as
MSG.
Oh, yes. I didn't ask her in advance. As always, the Community Exchange podcast is brought to you by OpenWeb, the company building a safer, fairer, and more trustworthy internet. Now we have a great conversation for you with Jess Giles, not Jessica, Jess, Managing Director, Media and Publishing at Code and Theory. Jess is an award-winning brand leader who transforms legacy brands through bold vision, purposeful strategy, and breakthrough thinking. Okay, Jess, let's go back to the beginning. Not the beginning. You started your career, I always get confused. Condé, Hearst, Condé.
Condé.
You started at Condé.
Yep.
You were some intern at the New Yorker.
Yes.
Let's go there.
Yes.
How'd you get the job?
Yes.
Tell me that whole story. And then is it anything to do with The Devil Wears Prada? I had to bring it up.
We get there.
Okay,
exactly.
Good. Go.
So, when I started my whole journey in media, I was an intern, as you say. I was a college student. And I was actually a film student at NYU. And my background's sort of interesting. I initially wanted to be a ballerina, and then I wanted to direct movies. And when I was studying film at NYU, it's a very practical education. I have a film production degree. So I know how to.
Oh, that's why you love the set and the whole thing we're doing here.
Exactly. So I can light a scene, I can strike a set. And I loved it, but it's not a very literary education. And reading and writing was such a huge part of my childhood and who I am as a person that I really started to miss it. So I was looking for ways to scratch that itch while I was also a film student. And I had a professor in college who, I'll try to make this story short, but there's a textbook that NYU teaches essay writing out of. And that textbook is made up of essays written by the prior year's students.
Okay.
And so they select a number of essays to put in this book. And one of my essays got selected for this book, which was very exciting. And the professor who was involved in that process had himself, 10, 15 years before, been an intern at the New Yorker. So I mentioned this to him at the party for the textbook.
Connected.
Exactly. And he was like, oh, I can connect you with somebody there. So I interviewed at the New Yorker, got an internship there.
And that's when Condé was in Midtown, right?
Condé was at 4 Times Square.
Yes, thank you.
Weirdly enough, my husband works in that building now. It's so bizarre. But started in earnest at the New Yorker. It blew my whole world open because at the time I intended to go and be a movie director. And I love it. I still love filmmaking. I still love that kind of storytelling. But for better or for worse, I wanted to direct. I really wanted to be the person.
It's not too late. We just spoke to someone yesterday who had something similar, and she wrote a book for 3.5 years.
The pivot. We can pivot as many times as we want in our lives. And I really agree with that. And I feel in a weird way like my career reflects that, actually. But so maybe time yet. But when I was a student at NYU, I won't date myself, but this was some brief time ago, there were not actually a lot of female directors. There were only a couple.
Okay.
And they did kind of niche work, and they were called out as sort of niche entities in this world. And I didn't want to have to be the one to beat my own head against a glass ceiling. I wanted to stride through broken...
And if you go into Condé world... Okay, makes sense.
Well, so actually what I saw when I was an intern at the New Yorker, what I saw was that this world media, particularly legacy magazine media, was a place where women, and even young women, were respected, listened to, given a seat at the table.
I worked at Nickelodeon.
How cool is that?
Nickelodeon back in the day, there was 27 women and me in a room.
Yeah.
It was natural to me because that's what it was.
Yeah.
And then today in the programmatic world, it was all men. And now in the AI world, it's sort of 50-50, which is so much nicer.
Yeah. I think the driving principles there are pretty clear. They're economic in that, the media executives understand that for a brand to reach young women, it needs to be run by young women, and you have to listen to what young women say about what should be done with the brand. And there was incredible role modeling for me in that at Condé Nast. And so I interned at the New Yorker, fell in love with the world, interned at Vogue the next semester, incredible stories from that time. They could not be more different. They were very true to what you might imagine.
I have 1,000 questions, but I'm not going to go.
Yeah. Some of those stories will have to be told to you exclusively over drinks. But
you're not drinking anymore.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. But so interned at Vogue. And then when it came time for a real job, I called up HR at Condé Nast. I said, hey, I've been here for 2 internships now. I've worked at 2 brands. I love this company. I love what you guys do. I know how your email systems work, and I know where your newsroom is, your mailroom is. What job might you have? And they didn't have anything. This was 2008. This was the beginning of
financial
a
crisis.
Very difficult period of time for media, for all of us. So I went and worked at a nonprofit for a while as a communications coordinator. Learned a lot about house voice and writing on deadline and writing when you might.
But going back to your writing skills again.
Exactly. Useful period of time. Then Condé HR called me back. This was 6 months later.
And they were Jessica, we need you.
Yeah, exactly. Jessica, that's what they called me. No, but they did say, hey, we have an opening. And they could have said we want you to deliver the mail, or we want you to serve food in the cafeteria.
And what was the opening?
The opening was assistant to the editor-in-chief at Glamour magazine.
It doesn't get better than that.
I know, right?
How do you say no?
I died. There's some funny stories about how I got that job. They specifically said they were really looking for someone who wanted that specific job and not to use that as an entry point to editorial. They want someone who won't move on too quickly, who will dig in and really, care as much about scheduling meetings as they do about writing copy. And I lied through my teeth. I said, that's me. I just want to schedule meetings. That's all I want to do. And so I did get the job. And you know what? I took the meeting part really seriously because it's really important, and I learned a ton.
And if you screwed up that one, you weren't getting the editorial job anyway.
Exactly. And did over time earn the trust of my boss and our editorial team, and started taking on more and more editorial responsibility and grew that way, the way I was explicitly told not to. But it worked out.
Okay, so then what happened after that? And when did you...
So Glamour, I was at Glamour for a number of years. I did 3 different roles there. I worked for Cindy Levy, who is such a legend, and learned really everything I knew for a long time about editorial strategy, about writing, editing, storytelling, angling.
And you were writing for the magazine and the website?
Mostly magazine. The website was a really new thing at the time. When I was there, they had, glamour.com, but it was more of a repository for archival stuff than it was an active, touch point for consumers. And they started to take it more seriously while I was there. They hired a site director, Ben Berenson,
That's crazy.
I know, right? We go way back to really make them a digital powerhouse, which is what he did. But I was there for a number of years, did a number of roles, really cool stuff, learned a ton from Cindy and from all of the brilliant editors there. And I realized after a long time that I had only ever worked at Condé Nast. I didn't know how other places worked. I'm really interested in institution and what, workplace environments are like and cultures. And in particular, I really wanted to learn digital. I saw what Ben was doing with Glamour.com and knew that there was a lot of opportunity in the digital landscape. And so I jumped to a startup. It was called I Like What You're Wearing. It was a digital fashion brand. It was sort of like Net-a-Porter, but for up-and-coming designers. Really challenging.
We've heard these similar stories also.
Interesting.
Right, about old media jumping to something new and then back to old media again.
And that's exactly what I did. I did 6 months there, learned a lot again. Startups are notoriously scrappy, and so I had to do 18 jobs, not 3 jobs, and that was cool. And I did get another call from Condé Nast 6 months later.
Saying come back?
Saying come back again. They had a feature editor role open at Teen Vogue. And feature storytelling it is really in my heart of hearts.
It's like real journalism.
Real journalism, yeah. The long form reporting, the investigations, the, new...
Producer Andrew, there's so many things that are tying together from all the podcasts. This is crazy, but keep on going.
I love it. And so, I could not pass that opportunity up. So I went back to Condé Nast at Teen Vogue, worked with Amy Astley there, who is obviously incredible. Right. And she, to her credit, gave me so much room to run. Those are my favorite kinds of bosses to work for, the ones who say, here you go, you can have it, and make of it what you will. And I really dug in and sort of created a digital role for myself there. My job initially was not digital, and by the end was the deputy editor of our website. In addition to doing features, was helping to top edit the whole magazine, the website, thinking about content strategy. And so that was an incredibly cool place to be at an incredibly cool time. And then I jumped over to Hearst.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Condé, startup, back to Condé, and now to Hearst.
And then to Hearst. Yep, exactly. And so I took another job at Hearst that I was probably not qualified for, was
Good for you.
Ambitious enough to convince myself that I could do. And luckily, I convinced my bosses the same thing. And
that job was?
Site director of Marie Claire. Beloved job, beloved brand for beloved bosses. And what a cool thing to do. That, it's a legacy brand in the women's media space that is so well known for its international journalism, its really smart, sharp perspective on, lifestyle, fashion. It's really a smart woman's fashion magazine. And that was at least the positioning at the time. It wasn't necessarily a really robust, successful website or digital property. And that's what I was hired to try to help do.
Sort of like what Ben did at Glamour at Condé. I connected the dots there.
Yeah, exactly. And I did. I loved it so much. We grew the site a ton, grew the team a ton, got really ambitious. By the time I left, we had published work by Hillary Clinton and Roxane Gay, and we had tackled really major topics in major ways, like gun reform and how that impacts women in particular, and really proud of the work we did as a team there at Marie Claire. I moved from Marie Claire to Cosmo to do digital for Cosmo, which was super exciting. And I did that.
And that's the big brand at Hearst, right?
Big
Cosmo?
Brand at Hearst, yeah. It's a corollary to Glamour in a lot of ways, but big brand. They say that Cosmo built that tower.
Yep.
It's a big, beautiful Hearst Tower at 57th Street, and Helen Gurley Brown was such a legend. What an incredible force of nature with a vision. Talk about a vision for the future. She was so ahead of her time, and so the brand she built at Hearst with David and with all of the executives that she worked with there really did power a lot of growth for the company for a long time. And so working in digital there was a really cool prospect. I got to draft off the success of Amy Odell, who had been running the site for a long time and had really taken it from a sort of pre-internet era to post-BuzzFeed era, and she made the site a huge success, and it was really cool to be able to sort of build from there and extend it beyond that. And then I took over the print operations as well. That sounds like a hostile takeover, but it was more of a unification of what had been separated for a long time at Hearst. Digital operations and print operations were separate. And I actually think that created a lot of environment for a lot of digital growth that would have been difficult otherwise.
And that's when Troy came in and sort of brought it all together.
Exactly. I think it was helpful that the two worlds bifurcated for a while, but inevitable that they reconnected. And I got to sort of be there at the reconnection moment and helped stitch the Cosmo universe back together to be one unified brand from an operational standpoint, from an editorial strategy standpoint, from a team standpoint. And I was in that role for 6 years.
6 years.
6 years.
Running the whole shebang.
Yeah, running the whole shebang. So print magazine, website, social, video. We did a lot of...
But your favorite was always editorial?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't want to... Favorite's tough because favorite implies
Wrong word.
Yeah, favorite implies exclusion of others. And I think over my life, I have added to the things I'm most passionate about. And so that my passions have expanded. My passion used to be editorial. My passion grew in that job to include innovation, digital innovation in particular.
There you go, producer Andrew. That's the title.
It became massively important to me because that's how you grow. That's how you surprise and delight your audience.
I agree 100%.
This is our language.
Curiosity, innovation, they all go together.
Yeah. There were other new passions I grew when I was at Cosmo. Developing movie and TV content was one of the things that I focused on there. We have a show coming out. I probably shouldn't say much more than that, but soon, which I'm excited for the world to see. I like to think of that role as a time and place where I expanded a ton of my desires for where to grow in the future. And digital innovation felt like the most important, the most urgent.
Yes.
One of the things you and I talk about in our conversations together is the fact that we have to experiment our way forward, and we have to do it intelligently and boldly and bravely. And that kind of approach requires a lot of resourcing, right? It requires a lot of technical know-how. It requires a lot of infrastructure. And it can be difficult inside a single media brand to feel like you have all of that resourcing or are able to prioritize the kind of experimentation that we're talking about. And so in jumping from pure editorial, from my role inside the media world to this new role that I'm doing here at Code and Theory, in a way I feel like I've jumped to the other side of the table, to where the tech sits and where the opportunity for digital innovation lives. And so I'm sort of stitching those things together in my way. And ultimately, what I was trying to do at Cosmo, what I was trying to do at every brand I ever worked at, was build a better internet, build a better media, build a better future for myself, for generations beneath me to engage in content in better ways online that feel more useful to them. And now I get to do that with the whole industry.
Yeah, to me, there's innovation and there's curiosity, and then there's taking the risk of trying to do something. Like all the emails I put out, I don't know if I'm right, but I put it out there and I get feedback and I make it better and better, but I take the risk of putting it out there to have the conversation.
Yeah. I think that's so important.
Yeah. Okay, so then you jump from
Cosmo to Code.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's a very different, God, I'm learning so much. These are such smart people, so ambitious. The technical know-how is so cool to be near. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Like it's just incredible to be around engineers who, maybe this is embarrassing, but I will admit to you and you alone, no one else will know this fact, MSG.
Thank you.
I have shed like a number of tears during the process of my workday because I've said to an engineer, hey, I really wish we could do blank. Or, my God, I spent 6 years asking for this other thing. And they turn to me and they're like, oh, we can. Yeah, I'll have a prototype for you tomorrow. And then I see the prototype and it works. And
is it because they could do it now, but they couldn't do it 6 years ago?
So part of it,
Or
right.
could they have done it 6 years ago, but they didn't want to do it 6 years ago? Like, which one is it?
Well, it's partially just that, like, now I've got dedicated resourcing that is focused on this very thing, and we're all trying to do the same bleeding edge work together. So it's
I assume
partially
that Condé and Hearst, it was shared resources, probably a lot
shared
harder to get.
resourcing, a ton of prioritization beyond just what one editor wants a special feature to be on their site. They've got to prioritize, anything that touches revenue and is more holistic for the total, corporate interest, which I totally understand. But so partially it's just where I am at the moment. Partially it is that AI is in the moment unlocking so much ability that we didn't have 2 weeks ago, let alone 2 years ago. And so it's a combo of both.
And segueing into like, where do you think the open internet is going today? Like, you're at the cusp of trying to help these other publishers. Like, what do you see happening now?
Man, so much to say here. Hard to tackle this as a big question.
Start and then I'll help you out.
Yeah, let's do it together. So one thing I see see a need for, especially, is focusing on community, by which I mean discussion, chatting, the ability for people to interact with each other, through your platform, the media platform.
But that doesn't happen that much.
But it should. So that's one of the needs I see for the future, is that when you and I go to a website, you and I both go to the New York Times right now. Maybe we're even looking at the same story. Our experience of engaging with that content is isolated. I don't know that you are there. You don't know that I am there. We cannot talk to each other about the thing that we are both engaging in right now. I think that's a massive unlock that we all have to get to.
So like Reddit eyes.
Kind of. Yeah. Yeah. I would say create...
So it's less comments, it's more community.
Community. Expose to your audience that they're there together, that you are not just a transactional place where they can get material that they go and then talk about on other platforms that are monetizing better than you are.
It's funny that you say that, because I was thinking about how publishers need to take all their content and give it to a marketplace and have the AI companies eventually buy it instead of scraping it and stealing it. Right? And then part of it is that the content needs to be given to the AI companies with metadata, and some of the metadata is usage data, like who's going there. And if you sort of put them all together of who's going there, you can build a better community by understanding that. So keep on going with that.
You could probably also build better advertising platforms.
Okay.
But you know, I think that
who would take the risk and try something like this?
I hope a lot of the brands that I'm partnering with now and partner with in the future, there's a lot of interest in this, and there is awareness that this is something that needs to be solved.
This does happen on e-commerce sites. Like 75,000 people have bought this previously. You're one of 2,500 people buying this now.
Yep.
So it seems like it's happening there, but I haven't seen that happen in too many traditional news, information, or lifestyle publishers yet.
I agree. So that's a hot ticket idea. Whoever wants to come work with me on that, I would love to do that together. But I think it's really critical. Like, content is as much about communication as it is about anything else. Think about your content consumption experience. My guess is that a significant part of your process is to text a story to someone and say something about it. Or
all the time.
Yep, right. I share my sister and I almost exclusively communicate through TikToks that we send each other, and then we just say things about them.
And I assume it's book talk for you.
No.
Fashion. What is it? What talk is it?
Oh gosh, what talk am I on right now?
This is embarrassing.
Well, so my niche, I love TikTok. I think it's an absolutely incredible platform. I'm going to confess to you right now what my nichest TikTok subgenre is. Are you ready?
No, I'm not ready, but go ahead.
You're so not ready. It has nothing to do with our world. It's cave diving disasters. Really compelling material. I cannot look away. And now my algorithm knows that.
So now you have to move over to Instagram or YouTube and get something else.
Because otherwise it's just the cross sections of the divers who get into the corner that's called like Dead Man's Pass. And they're like, oh, I can't get through. Anyway, so I
assume they make it out. Otherwise there won't be a video.
Half the time they don't.
Oh my God.
I know. But anyway, my point is that we don't consume content in a vacuum, and we don't want to. And so thinking about the distribution piece.
Well, I think some people like doing things in isolation.
Well, sure.
Like I like for a living, like you were saying, like I used to build pivot tables and now I bring people together and create communities.
Yes.
So I went from like one extreme to the other. And I like being with people, but like my wife could be by herself for 4 days in a row. I can't.
Yeah. Maybe I should say that I think there can be more and should be more strategic platform-specific thinking around the engagement paradigm and what its purpose is. So when you're reading print, for example, that does to me feel like an insular, that's a me experience.
Yes.
That's for me. I don't need to do anything with it, which is why it feels nourishing and like self-care. Digital is different. Digital is connected, and digital is, you can share that content with your network very easily, right? And so digital content does feel to me like it begs to be used as a talking point, as a connection force, as a, like that's how we move and change culture. That's partially why our culture is evolving so quickly, is that we are doing it together on these digital platforms. I keep cutting.
But also what you're referring to is the LLMs can't steal also. If you build this community inside a publisher, it's a lot harder for the LLMs. They're just scraping some data. the community's a whole different aspect.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the LLMs are pretty good at like what we're seeing on Google. Yeah, they're great at everything. And what we're seeing on Google is that they're also great at surfacing, Reddit content and
stealing your data.
as real content.
I can say that. I look at producer Andrew. I can say that. Google 0.
I know. I really, I do believe that Google traffic will continue to decline. Referral traffic will continue to decline.
The other thing I read the other day is the Google search terms now went from 1 to 2 words to 3 to 4 words. So people are starting to putting more natural language sentences into Google instead of just 1 or 2 words.
I find myself doing that.
We all do. We've been learning pretty quickly how to do that now.
Yeah. It's interesting that like it took the world's most advanced technology to remind us to talk like people.
Well, it also took OpenAI to have some competition where Google was forced then to do what they're doing now. Otherwise, they probably would have been blue links forever.
I did their first magazine cover. I partnered with, before ChatGPT launched, they launched a product called DALL-E. OpenAI launched DALL-E, which was their
DALI, right?
DALL-E.
Okay,
a play on Dali, the artist. But that was their image generation tech, and that felt to me, that was the first moment where I had this reckoning of, artificial intelligence is here. It will change everything starting now. And I reached out to them the day I saw the announcement and said, hey, have you done a magazine cover before? Should we do one together? And so we partnered with Cosmo. We did DALL-E's first cover. We did the first AI magazine cover. It's a really cool experience. And a feature story, of course, that went with it to detail the process and the technology. And that was a really cool moment, actually, of Cosmo suddenly feeling very relevant to an audience that had never read Cosmo content before. Cool moment.
Okay, so we went down the community world. Publishers need to bring more community into what they publish every day. Anything else out there? Okay, the other ones.
So
I'll make sure we get them all.
Yes, there's another challenge to tackle, or another, let's say, habit to get out of, which is that the media ethos has been, for a really long time, we know what you need to know, and we are going to share it with you. And there are a couple things about that. Obviously that may have made sense before there was the feedback loop of the internet, but now we have the feedback loop of the internet. Another thing about that is that it's oriented towards, we're going to publish all of the material that you might need and expect you to do the work of...
It's a lot of work.
Exactly. It's a lot of work. And we have all the data now to know exactly how much work users really think that is. And they think it's a lot. Like reading anything feels like a lot of work to the modern consumer. Well, that's why as soon as you
said my emails, you're like TLDR.
Right. I did say that before we started recording. Yes. Sorry.
That's okay. There's a pattern here.
But yeah, we are asking, full stop, the audience still to do a lot of work still, and to, use their minds to control F material for what relates to them specifically over what relates to the audience as a whole. And so one of the things that AI is unlocking for us, and that I'm super excited to start implementing with partners, is toolifying your content, productizing your expertise, so that rather than publishing every horoscope and asking you to read all of them so that you can find Sagittarius, instead we're going to give you fill out 2 drop downs and then you get exactly what you're looking for. Or because of AI, because of contextual information that we now get about when you came in, from where, what you're interested in, what you clicked on yesterday, we can go ahead and do that for you without making you input stuff.
Right. So you're not a journalist anymore, an editorial person. You're a product visionary person. You just need to find some publishers to say, yes.
I don't know that I would think of it that way.
Yes, let me help you build that, and then we could see something new.
Yeah, maybe.
Because there have not been many new products that traditional open internet publishers have built in a while.
I know. And that's
sad. That's sad.
That's what I want to do. That's what I'm most excited about. I think it's what the industry needs. I think it's what publishers need.
They need a big kick in the ass.
Yeah, or, an opportunity to think about the future optimistically rather than pessimistically. And there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of regret that dynamics have changed, that consumers want something different than they used to. And I think that's entirely up to us, to the industry. If we want to continue to feel that way and lament the fact that readers don't read as much anymore.
But they watch?
They watch. God, they watch. They watch, they engage, they need answers. They need solutions more than ever. They need convenience. They need, the answer,
and
their answer.
Does anyone bring consumer convenience now?
I think there are.
Are there any great products out there that are like, wow, that's...
There are a lot of... a lot of early steps in that direction. And I think there are a lot of media brands that from their own genesis, they are baking into their architecture and into their editorial strategy more so than their product. How can we make life easier on consumers? You think about a brand like Axios, which is oriented towards the TLDR, towards the quick understanding. That is a step in this direction. It might not be a product necessarily, but it's the right kind of editorial strategy.
Okay, so talk to me a little bit about any other companies out there, an Amazon, an Apple, NVIDIA, anything out there that's interesting that you've seen?
Oh God, so much. I spent all weekend vibe coding an app for myself with Replit.
Oh, okay.
Actually.
What was the app?
Well, so...
was it about people dying underwater?
No. Are you a skincare person?
Sometimes.
MSG? Yeah, you seem like you...
Okay. I try to work out all the time.
I know you're very fit. I think skincare is like a part of overall fitness. But anyway, I'm a skincare girly. And I just started using retinol. Are you familiar?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So
yes.
You have to be really careful with it.
Like, I'm pale and I go to the dermatologist. They want me to go twice a year. I'm like, once a year is enough.
Yeah. So retinol, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a fantastic product. It encourages cell turnover, but your skin can really overreact to it. And so you have to be super careful about when you use it and when you don't and what the conditions are. My derm wants me to use it every 2 to 3 nights. I will admit to you, MSG, I have a 19-month-old toddler at home. Life is crazy. I really cannot remember. Was it last night? Was it 2 nights ago? Was it 3 nights ago?
Reminders, phone.
Exactly. Well, so I wish...
So were you your vibe coding a reminder?
No, I vibe coded a whole retinol tracker app for myself. And it is awesome. It took...
Producer Andrew, buy her a whiteboard.
Oh, I have one of those too.
Okay.
But so the journey was I worked with ChatGPT to sketch out a product concept and some branding. I, having done what I have done in media, still care a lot, obviously, about presentation and aesthetics and positioning. And so even just for my own personal reasons, I wanted to have a brand name, I wanted to have a tagline, I wanted to have cohesive imagery. So I sketched out a plan with ChatGPT. Took 5 minutes. The name of the app is Known, as in tretinoin. It's another kind of retinol. Known as in knowledge. And the tagline is soft skin, sharp schedule. Okay. And the art is really cool. It's sort of like haute medieval women wearing modern
we'll add a link to it in the show.
Anyway, I'll share it with y'all. Yeah. But so then I went to Ideogram and I generated those images.
That like I said, you're a product person.
10 minutes. And then I threw all of that into Replit, built out the app. That took a couple days. As we all know with vibe coding, you can get into a place where the agent changes one thing you didn't want it to change and it breaks the whole system and you have to start over. So it did take a couple days. But now I have a functional app that is just for me, that does exactly what I want, that is beautiful. And I love clicking on it every day. And my skincare is already better. And that was a really cool thing to do.
That's impressive.
It was fun. And we will be moving into a future where more and more people are building custom use case ad hoc products. It doesn't have to be this big SaaS world anymore.
Or just the agents can do it for us.
Or the agent can do it for
works.
you. Yeah. It's really, really interesting to play with. So that's really fun. I think Replit's doing great work. I've been playing recently with Dia, the browser, the AI browser.
I just saw Perplexity just launched a new browser.
They did, which I'm
on the wait list.
Okay, yeah. I haven't played with that one yet. Other tools and companies that are doing interesting things right now.
As we wrap up, let me ask you this question: 2, 3, 4, 5 years, what does the media landscape look like? What comes to you first when I ask that question?
I think we will see a new class of winners. And I think that class of winners are going to be the brands that allow themselves to put user desire and need above all else. I think that is in the past.
Unpack user desire and need. Like, what does that mean?
The user needs the answer. User needs it fast.
Okay.
User is not a reader, consumer. It's hard to call them readers now because they're watching, they're listening.
Well, I was going to ask you about book talk because, like, I
Right.
consume a book a week.
Wow, how do you have time?
It's all audiobooks.
Right, I love an
It's
audiobook.
audiobooks when I
Yeah.
walk my dog and go for walks all the time.
Yeah.
So it's consuming, not reading. So I
Yeah.
totally agree with you on that.
Yeah. So I don't really like calling them readers anymore, but they are not coming to you for a stroll in the park. They're not coming to you for a tour through all the
They're coming
content
to you
you
because
think
they're
is
looking
cool.
for an answer.
They're coming to you because they think you can solve their problem. And the faster those who close the gap and who, I don't mean to say that this should be a slicker, more transactional experience exclusively. I don't want it to sound like it lacks high touch brand value. I think that's critical too. I think it's about the brands that close the gap and do so in a way that communicates and telegraphs the unique brand value that this brand has. Like that's the winning combination because that's what will make a consumer think beyond, above the LLM. I keep thinking about a consumer. We've got to convince a consumer to go over the top of the LLM because the LLM is so great at like solving those urgent needs. In order for them to think about going above them for us, for a brand, we've got to be communicating our brand value clearly to them all the time. And it can't be about us. It has to be about what we do for them.
Okay. Jess Giles, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Fabulous conversation. You are not an editorial person. You are a product person. You just need to get some developers cranking some shit out for you and make it happen. Producer Andrew, thank you so much. Remy, thank you as well. Great
This
conversation.
is awesome.
Thank you.
Fun to be here.